What's good, everybody? This is Queen Common Sense coming back to you from the remix from the city to the sticks. Oh, it's been a day for me, a little bit emotional, and was perusing as usual. And I'm just going to get right on into it today, folks, because I caught this interview on a replay and it really resonated with me um, from Love and Marriage Huntsville. Lexi McCullum spoke about her experience with being like the prodigal child, the one that's left out, the scapegoat, treated differently. And for those who know me from before I retired from YouTube, you know I talked about dysfunction in the family, healing generational curses of narcissistic abuse, sibling rivalry, triangulation, and whatnot. And this really struck a chord with me because I related to everything Lexi said. And personally, this is less about me and more about the actual dysfunction and toxicity of it all. But I relate to it so much because I come from a nuclear family of two parents still married, never separated, never divorced, never had a break in their marriage, and never had a step parent. And I have been learning more about why I have been treated the way that I have as that one that feels left out or that scapegoat for more appropriate terms. And Lexi, first and foremost, I want to say to her is I am so very proud of you to be brave enough to speak the actual unadulterated truth of what you see and have learned along your journey of trying to build a bridge to be able to bond with and establish a healthy relationship with your father and your extended family members in this blended family. And it's really difficult to do, especially if we don't have all the emotional intelligence and psychological tools in place. I also can relate highly to Lexi's mom because I've co parented with my child's father, and I did my very best to let things play out while my child was young and surround her with as much positivity, constructive things and activities, and as much love and support that I could give as she grew up and blossomed into her womanhood. Now, I had a catch 22 for myself because, you know, having a child at a very young age, a lot of your elders think that you have no clue what you're doing. That child is going to be ruined for life because this young person is having this baby unwed, unplanned, and so forth. And I always knew that I wanted to be a parent and I wanted to do it the proper way. And we all know God has a plan. Sometimes we try to take over that plan and things turn out the way they turn out. But be not mistaken. God don't bless no mess. And you can't question why things turn out the way they do against what we hoped for or planned for our humanly selves. Now, that being said, um, I am just sickened and frankly astounded by the sheer ignorance of people who are labeling Lexi's mom and Lexi as bitter. They're still bitter. They need to move on. Why did she do the interview if she was um, done the way she was done? If she's over it and they're not uh, in communication, why come forward and do this? Because it needs to be said and it needs to be known how the effect of abandoning a child, emotionally abandoning that child, mentally neglecting that child affects them long term and sometimes throughout their entire lifetime. It's very difficult to navigate life and focus on growth, self education, having meaningful, healthy relationships with other adults after they have entered into adulthood. It's a struggle. Sometimes it's a lifelong struggle. Sometimes you never really get over some of the things that your family has done and said to you out of just sheer ignorance, um, manipulation, narcissism, mental and emotional abuse, physical abuse, and so on. This is the generational curse that many of us speak on and teach about and share experiences and have those difficult conversations. Just like if a child has been inappropriately touched and viciously, selfishly violated, and that child is told not to speak about it, not to be honest about their truth and what happened to them, not their version of the truth, what actually happened. We protect predators and abusers on all levels, as we can see on this show, Love and Marriage Huntsville, how many people have protected Lil Buddy for many years. And we watch this unfold before our very eyes, and people still feel compelled to make excuses for this type of behavior. When innocent children are brought into this world under the care of reckless, selfish, careless people, this is the results you get, Alexi, myself, and many other people who are now adults and still working on letting go of that pain, trying to find closure for those unanswered questions as to why. Why would my mother or father, uncle, aunt, sister, brother treat me the way that they have? And I haven't really done anything but just inherited this madness, inherited this dysfunction by being brought into this world. Okay. Nobody sat me down and explained to me that, you know what, mom and dad are having some marital problems and you were brought forth and you were born to fix their relationship. Nobody told me that. I had to figure that out on my own. And of course, the devil's not going to announce himself or herself and say, hey, here's my pitchfork and horns. I'm going to ring your doorbell with a bouquet of flowers because I want to come terrorize you. Is that okay? The devil is not going to introduce himself. And the evil that people do when they're caught up in negative, toxic emotions and relationships, they cannot compartmentalize that this is an innocent child. This child has nothing to do with the behavior of the other parent or the choices of those parents who chose to conceive and give birth. Okay. And a lot of times that child is caught up in the rapture of the tug of war of wit or property or emotions in that relationship. Whether it lasts, whether they stay together or not, that child is stuck in the middle without a voice, without any advocacy for that child to say, hey, look at you, this arguing back and forth, or the sneaking back and forth, the cheating, the infidelity, the physical abuse, whatever type of abuse it is, it's directly affecting that child or children in that family unit. I don't care how many times you divorce and remarry, if you do not nurture a relationship of respect, honor, and value with your children, they will grow up damaged and they will grow up to be resentful and they will have some bitter, ill feelings for you as their parent, as their brother, sister, aunt, uncle, whomever is involved, whatever dynamic is in, right? They're going to have some type of feelings toward how they were treated, mishandled, disrespected, and neglected and abused. That is why people need therapy from their childhood, trying to recover from the traumatic things that they witnessed and that have been done to them. Okay. And it's really nauseating to see so many people still very ignorant and purposely delusional to overlook the journey that this young woman has gone through and endured with her father hopping from person to person, cheating on her mother. This is no different than how Melody felt and feels in her relationship, and having to make the hard decision to choose to end the toxic relationship and marriage for the sake of her betterment of her children, her own personal health, mental health, physical health, and just to be able to have peace so she can function and properly care for her children. Okay. I'm just over this oversaturated word of bitter when someone decides to say no to abuse. When someone decides to say, I don't care how pleasant you are in my face. I may forgive what you have done. That's for me to be able to move on. But I will never forget what happened and how that affected me. So the niceties and all that, that's wonderful, but I don't have to accept that. It's very similar to white supremacy as well, if you really think about it and take a deeper dive into it. Okay. You see where we're getting the Karen syndrome. It's rampant. They try to force you to identify yourself, force you to explain to this entitled white person, why are you here? Why do you live here? Do you own your home? How much money do you make? Is that your car? Are these your children? They try to force their will upon us as we mind our own business and drink our damn water. Okay. And when you refuse that interaction, then you have either the police at your door, you're constantly being harassed, your property's being destroyed and damaged and stolen and all of that. And your peace is disrupted because you say no to someone who is trying to impede and impose and violate your right to privacy, your right to be quiet, your right not to interact with someone who is a stranger who you feel might be a threat, or someone who might want be looking for an open door to start some toxic interaction with you. Now, I was going to do all fancy stuff and try to make a little intro and do all that, but I just wanted to jump right in here and get to going on this. Now, I'm just astounded still in 2024 to see the chats in certain of these live streams who put their spin on it and put their take to it and gave their opinion on it. To see some of the chatters and some of the supporters of some of these content creators take this totally to the left and not truly try to objectively see exactly where this young lady is in her current situation and how she has had to work so hard to try to put the pieces together and figure out why she cannot have a healthy relationship and connection with her father. Again, I share that same struggle to this day, and I'm 52, where Lexi is 32. And in my 30s is when I finally woke up and realized that it wasn't my dad all the way. It wasn't me all the way. It wasn't anybody else's fault but my mother. Yes, my biological mother, who is still married to my father, 60 plus years strong. And our family dynamic is vastly dysfunctional. I don't speak to any of my siblings. I don't have a relationship with them at all. I I went gray rock, and I was raising a family, going to school, furthering my education, starting a business, and I was being gang stalked and harassed. Why? Because my daughter, one of my children, still had access to them. still wanted a relationship with them. And they used her as a vehicle to glean personal information, breadcrumb that back to them whenever there was any type of unrest in my household. They had little morsels of information to use and weaponize against me. I have been slandered. I have been harassed. I have been uh, hoovered, you name it, gaslit, all kind of things. I've lost income. I've had damage done to property. I've had strangers who are connected to my family members chime in, who don't have a dog in the fight, chime in and give their 2 cents about me, my family dynamic, my partner at the time, my husband, my friends, my profession, my income, even the house that I was living in. People had a whole lot to say, yet no facts to bridge and build their opinion upon, just strictly by hearsay from whatever my mother would have to say or whatever she lent to her emotional response to me saying, no, do not undermine my parental authority. No, you cannot come and turn my family and my life and my home upside down with the meddling, with the prying, with the poking, with the gossip, with the backstabbing. You know, my sister is a professional gaslighter. My sister is a professional master manipulator of my mother. My mother is the puppeteer and my sister is the puppet, and vice versa. They play off each other. So I completely understand where Lexi is coming from. I completely commend her for choosing her mental well being and her mental health and peace over trying to chase a relationship with people who refuse to see exactly where she's coming from. Refute purposeful ignorance is what I learned that is. See, this is what therapy will do for you. When you're able to label and call things and give it a name, give it a term, and find the clinical and psychological and scientific reason behind what's happening to you after you grow into an adult and say, you know what, I didn't have a voice then, I didn't have an advocate. My mother was the only advocate. She had to preserve her own sanity as her mother. She had to try to feed and nurture and pour into her daughter the best way she knew how without the support and help of the daughter of Fletcher. And now no matter how hard this woman has worked to raise a peaceful, eloquent, well-spoken young woman, we're going to hop right over that and go right to labeling her as bitter. This is what I mean by psychological programming of white supremacy gives them a back seat, and we driving the bus for them now. The infighting, the you know, just purposeful ignorance. To think that this girl is bitter for not wanting nothing to do else to do with her father. One thing you don't owe your parents is an explanation as to why you don't want to be connected to them. And there's a few things that I want to read here regarding that. Because whenever we tell the truth to our elders, whether it be our parents, um, that cantankerous old slut shaming auntie that just is jealous and bitter and totally uh, 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 has checked out on trying to have any type of harmony or happiness in her life. That one that's always calling little girls fast when they start to blossom and fill out and mature and go through puberty, the ones that make you feel self-conscious, them type of people, those type of relatives. This is all psychological programming and abuse, right? So it's something that I struggled with as well growing up. Something that totally took me off guard. It was like a gut punch when one of the first elders that I was happened to be very fond of, I admired as a little girl, saw me growing up, and she saw how I was maturing and my body was changing. And immediately, one summer out the blue, she just snapped on me. Yeah, I see you. I see you gonna be one of them little hot girls. Uh-huh. Stuff like that. And that takes you somewhere you don't want to be. You're like, what the hell? I'm just a little girl. I'm just, trying to figure out who I am, trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, play with my little friends and do what little girls do. And I'm already vilified for just having a female feminine body, for budding into a young woman, a young lady, and into an adult woman. My destiny has been pre-planned by someone who either ruined their youth, who has been rejected by whatever men, who have been abused, who chose wrong. So now you're gonna project that shit off onto me, an innocent little girl who I don't even know the first thing about sex at 10, 11, 12, 13 when puberty starts. You know, I don't know if anybody can relate. It's just astounding to even think after what Lexi's mother stated. This is what I tried to do. I tried to, do the best thing I could to keep her as positive and engaged in as many things to edify and uplift her self-esteem and pour into her psyche to give her the balance that she didn't get from her father, which is what many of us do as single mothers who have to co-parent with a shoddy father of our children who's not quite all the way plugged in, who's more concerned about what's behind their zipper than what's going on with their children. Now, a harsh truth doesn't mean that a woman is bitter behind not having a successful marriage or relationship with their father. Because when my ex and I broke up, I was very happy about that. Because that was less work that I had to do to get rid of the toxicity because I grew up in a toxic household, which then affected my choices as an adult when I chose the wrong person to date in high school and wound up being manipulated into having premarital sex at too young of an age where I did not understand the ramifications and the responsibility that comes with having sexual relations with someone that is not invested in you in the same fashion, right? So that taught me a very valuable lesson on how never to get played again, especially when it concerns involve having sexual relations with someone. That's why you have the importance of choosing a partner, and that sex is should be reserved for commitment, not as a sport. When you're dating, sex should not be on the table because you're dating to see if this is a partner that you want to spend your life with. Now, people do whatever they want to do as grown adults. Nobody can tell anybody what to do with their body, how to conduct themselves sexually. But that's why there is a plan in place where commitment and monogamy is paramount in understanding that both parties agree this is what we're going to do to build our life and build our family together. True, some things don't work out. But before you hop from the frying pan into the fire to remarry to try to correct the mistakes of your previous relationship, you need to give yourself time to heal and recalibrate and figure out, is this the direction I really want to go in? Which circle back around to Melody. That is why she took the time that she took to make the decision she made to divorce. That's why she stayed as long as she did, because it is never easy to separate and choose to cut somebody off and leave them alone, especially with children involved. And I am just disgusted, really, frankly, at how we can label this mother and daughter as bitter when they choose to say, I tap out. I'm just not going to keep doing this to myself. I'm not going to have get my hopes up and have an expectation of somebody who is not willing to even try to meet me halfway and understand and validate how they made me feel over a lifetime. This didn't just start when she appeared on the show. Okay. It didn't just start when the cameras turned on and she was invited to promote her business on the show on one of these episodes here. This has been ongoing ever since she was a young little girl. Okay. So you're going to have some emotions in there. You're going to be angry. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be frustrated because as a child, you don't know why your other parent just vanished, just bounced, just left, and don't check on you, don't call to see how you're doing, checking in with the school, checking in with the extracurricular activities. See, my father was a very hands-on father. Even though he was even as the sole provider, he still was at every event, every activity, everything that I wanted to do. He pushed me. And then as I got older and started having my own children, building my own family in life, my mother was very, very jealous because before I was born, they had a lot of marital issues and they did not have the proper tools to address them, just like that generational curse. Just be quiet. Don't say nothing. Don't talk about it because that makes everybody uncomfortable. We don't want to expose that because it's embarrassing. So we'll just leave it alone, bottle it up, seal the lid, and shut your mouth because we don't want to get this predator in the family locked up because that might be the sole breadwinner. We might be totally reliant on this person. That might be Uncle Boo Boo over there who has, some type of influence to tear up and destroy the entire family and then we lose everything and everybody suffers. That's why it's important to talk and understand where your children are mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually because toxicity, parental alienation, whether it be the parent disappearing from the child's life or the other way around, it is a very painful thing to process. It is not easy to process and put closure to that. The mind goes all the way off into left field, wondering, why is this? Why is that? Why are these people treating me this way? They don't know me. I don't know them. Same thing again, going back to my sister and I. We stopped communication. I cut her off. I was 26 years old because her actions matched her damn words. Okay. She wanted to chime in, go along to get along. And she showed me better than she could tell me that she really wasn't trying to have a sister relationship with me. So I said, bet, you ain't got to tell me twice. And I moved on with my life. Was it easy? No. Someone who you share a room with, share parents with, share little stories as little girls with, share fights, arguments, and all kind of everything else. You share the dinner table with these people. You have dinner every night at the dinner table with these people. You go on family outings with these people to say, okay, now that you have met your potential partner, you ain't got no time for your sister. You feel like once you get married, that's going to take away and erase all the dysfunction because now you'll be married to someone else with somebody else's last name. So that's going to just take away all the toxic, embarrassing things that you know about your family dynamic. Bet. How about I just move around and I'm not chasing nobody that ain't checking for me? And I'm going to take care of my own family. I'm going to take care of my own obligations. I'm going to take care of my own demons and I'm going to leave you alone. What happens when you go no contact with a narcissist? Because she was also a flying monkey. Okay. They get upset. Now I can no longer control you. Now I'm going to send people to try to find little bits and pieces of information about you so that I can turn that around and twist it and distort it and use it as a weapon for you later if you do come to me for any type of help or come to me in vulnerability or confide in me in any way. I'm going to smile in your face, collect all the information I can so that later on, when I can't control you, I'll be able to use it against you. That's how those family dynamics go. And I don't even have to know the girl to understand exactly where she was coming from when it comes to this situation with the car. It wasn't about the material gift. It was about if you're going to, if you say that you love all of us the same, then we need to see that because love is a verb, concern is a verb. Empathy is a verb. You have to show these things. Your love languages for your children should be complete across the board. Are they all the same? No, but they're all yours. Okay. So if you love on one, you have to love on them all in the way that they receive your love. Okay. Because a lot of times absent parents think that a whole bunch of gifts and things like that mean that they're available to their child. And when that child picks up the phone and has a problem that doesn't take money to solve it, and you're not available for them, they're never going to forget that. A child is never going to remember how much money that you spent on them buying them gifts. They're going to remember the precious moments, the times that really mattered. Were you there? Were you supportive? Did you protect me? Did you teach me? Did you guide me through these obstacles that I faced as a child, through puberty, through being bullied? Anything. Were you there for me? Okay. And that's what parenting is. You're supposed to listen to the needs of your child and adjust that accordingly. Do you let your child communicate and control you? Of course not. Because you're the parent. You're supposed to have the emotional maturity to understand when your child is manipulating you and when your child is truly seeking your help and guidance and support and love. And that's where I say a lot of people don't need to have children until they truly find out who they really are and heal their own past traumas. Because a lot of people parent through their own trauma and communicate through their own trauma. And I just feel like it's ridiculous, beyond deplorable and disgusting for people to say that this young lady and her mother are the problem, are the bitter ones. Okay, so now these are some things that I ran across. Let me share my screen. These are some things that I ran across uh, just browsing through, social media. 6 things children of all ages do not owe their parents. Okay, let me go back the other way. Sorry. Gratitude. Parents are not owed gratitude from their children for their own choice to become parents. Provided the basics to your child, like housing, clothing, transportation, access to education. This is just called doing what you're signed up for. And I can speak for myself in saying that my mother used to always say, "Well, I take care of you, don't I? I make sure you get to school. I cook your food. I clean your room, and I do this for you and wash your clothes." That's what you signed up for. That's what you child. That's what parents do. That's part of what's built in to being a parent. You don't get gratitude for that. Now, once the child is an adult and you doing that stuff for that child, then that's on you. You need to tell that child and teach that child better. So when they grow up, they have their own knowing and understanding that that's a life skill. Cooking, cleaning, providing their own transportation, maintaining these things is a life skill. Okay. so that they can then teach that to their own offspring if they so choose to have them. Okay. So the basics that a parent provides their child, that child don't owe the gratitude to the parent for providing the basics because anybody can provide that. The jailhouse provide housing, clothing, and if the inmates need to be transported, transportation and basic, baseline medical care. Okay, let's move on. A relationship. When you decide to become a parent, you took on a lifelong responsibility. Lifelong. Not when they turn 18, not when they get mouthy and can tell you about your ass. Okay. A lifelong responsibility. Just like when you say we're married for better or for worse, rich or poor. That's what that means. You committed until, and this is a battle that my mother and I used to go back and forth about. You're my mother. And because I'm telling you how you affect me when you do these things, you want to compete with me and have a battle of wit. Well, you did this. You're the mother, though. Who's going to be the level headed one here? I have to separate myself from you because you're too immature to say, oh, you know what? This is not about me. This is about my child. I'm trying to get her through a rough patch or help her polish up herself so that she can navigate through life without stumbling and falling over and over again. And then turn around and complain about her needing my help. See, your child doesn't owe you a relationship, but you certainly owe them one. Confused? Circle back to how your relationship with your child started in the first place. Okay? Number 3, an explanation. If your child does not want to have a relationship with you, they don't owe you an explanation. It's hard when you want to have a relationship with someone who doesn't want to have a relationship with you. Is it hard? I'm sorry. Is it hard when you want to have a relationship with someone who doesn't have a relationship with you? Yes. Does it mean you're suddenly a victim who's being abused? No. Okay. So all this bullshit with a hotel. Oh, I'm the victim. You hurt me by telling me I cheated on my wife. Talking to Miss Nell. No, you're not a victim. If it hurts your feelings, then you shouldn't have did it. If you didn't want nobody talking about what the hell you did, then you shouldn't have did it. Okay? Period. I don't know why we want to draw this gray area of shade in the middle of right and wrong and say, well, yeah, I cheated, but don't talk about it. Don't keep throwing it in my face. Well, don't keep trying to level your ex with your proclivities when you know damn well she didn't cheat on you. Okay? You just want to level that out to take some of the heat off the fire for you, to remove some of them hot coals that's being held to your feet. That's how my ex-husband did. I was stalked for a whole year. Gang stalk, people gossiping about me, inventing all kind of lies and speculations about me, and I did not open my mouth. I stayed to myself. I had 2 businesses. I had restarted college courses, taken a double major, and I was downsizing from our marital home to a smaller home. And I learned more about myself in that year from strangers than I did a whole lifetime of knowing myself in my own body, if that makes sense. Just because I refused to engage, I was the devil. I had people from the church trying to contact me and get my attention to try to talk me into taking my ex-husband back. Okay. So miss me with the bullshit. Now, number 4, love. Deciding to parent means deciding to love a child, not counting yourself forever entitled to being loved by that child. Your child doesn't owe you love ever. The only people who owe you love for life are your own parents. Hello? Hello? Anybody home? When you break your child's heart and fracture that love bond with your child, especially if they're innocent, defenseless, and don't understand why you selfish and can't plug in and be a proper parent and co-parent cohesively, that stings. And sometimes there's a little bit of love lost for a parent who refuses to stand up for what is correct to protect that child and the integrity of the parent child relationship. Then you become an enabler, you know, like my dad. He's the enabler to my mother's narcissism because he is so worn down and broken from her gaslighting, crazy making, flying monkey triangulation tactics. He's only a shell of who he once was when we were close. My dad used to be my best friend. I could tell him anything, be like Fort Knox. Any problem I had, he was there for me. Anything I needed. And it was more spiritual than it was material. If some of you numbskulls could get that. Okay. Number 5, approval. Your child thinks you weren't a good parent. Sounds like a performance review. The person you parented has every right to make. There's no participation trophies just for wearing the I'm a parent hat. And this especially is for these toxic ass Black mothers. Yeah, I said it. Toxic Black mothers who think, well, I'm your mother. Wander, Miss Betty, Petty Betty, Marlene, the drinking machine. Just because you're my mother does not mean that you're a good parent. Just because you're my mother does not mean that I have to approve of your bad performance as a mother. Just because you're my mother does not mean that you are a good mother. Because all mothers ain't good mothers. Okay, I could show up at every game. I could be there cheering. I could, run you to school every day, make sure the parent teacher conferences are handled and all that. But how am I treating you as my child? Am I listening to your needs and wants? Or am I telling you just to sit down somewhere, smack you upside the head, and tell you to just deal with it? Because I'm tired. I done worked all day. I'm tired. I don't have time for you right now. Isn't that how Marlene did Martell? Mm? That's why he has a problem with any female that challenges him. That's why he had a problem with Melody spreading her wings and living her purpose and following and chasing her dreams. Huh? This is why it's a problem for her to say, no, no, I'm not going to have you abusing me. This is why I say no, because I cannot endure this pressure, this stress you're putting on me. So every mother, just because you're a mother and your children successfully grew up without leaving here and was not removed from here, well, you alive still, ain't you? That's what my mother says to me. You still alive. I did the best I could. Clearly you didn't. Because if you did the best you could, then your children, the 4 of us, would not have so many issues, and the information that you disseminate through the 4 siblings would be accurate, and you would have a commune of sorts to come together to sit down to air things out and iron things out and clear the air. You don't want to do that. You got to triangulate, got to drop off this morsel over here, got to edit that, remix that, and then that's a different message for that one. And I'll tell you this much, but I won't tell you the rest. I'll make you question and wonder because it's all about power and control. That's not a good mother or a good father. I'll show you this portion of my relationship, but I'm not going to show you the part where I was a thought box running around, hopping from bed to bed, chasing skirts. Don't want you to know about that, baby girl. But would you want your daughter to date a man like you? Would you want your daughter to marry a man like you? You did? So your child don't owe you any approval. They don't owe you no approval. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 6. Silence. You don't get to hurt your child and then expect your child to keep quiet so you look like the loving parent that you weren't. Let me read that again. Your child does not owe you silence to protect your lies and your poor parenting. You don't get to hurt your child and then expect your child to keep quiet so you look like the loving parent you weren't. The problem isn't your child talking about your bad behavior. The problem is how you choose to behave yourself or chose to behave yourself. Excuse me. Okay? So, those are the 6 things that children do not owe their parents. All right? Now, I want to get into this here interview a little bit because some of the things that uh, Lexi said, really struck home with me and resonated very well and make me very proud to see another Black woman chipping away at healing the wounds of her childhood because in all respect, okay, you should not have to heal from your childhood, especially to this severity, where it's just ongoing, deliberate delusion and deflection away from the real root cause of why they're fractured and no longer in communication. And it's really upsetting to have to make that choice. No matter if it's your husband, your wife, your father, your siblings, your half siblings, step siblings, when you bond with somebody and you get to know someone, they become a regular part of your life. I don't care, even when we lose a pet, that bond with that pet is broken because that pet is no longer alive and you have to heal from that. Some people never get over some of the pets that they have because that was their companion, a part of the family. You did. So let's take a peek here. Okay. Because I knew for a good little minute that Miss Nell, her energy just wasn't quite sitting well with me. And I began early on to question, is she really Mel's friend? Or is this one of Hotel's friends that Mel was just inherited through the marriage? Pardon me. So let's have a peekaboo. Okay. And what I'm going to do is we're going to start from the top and go through a few little sections of it, and I'm going to give my little take on it, and just put something out there. Maybe some people haven't quite thought about, especially those who are calling this young lady bitter, and they might have experienced some of the same things and just don't know what they're looking at, and they think this shit is normal in families, in Black families, because it's in all cultures of people, family. But I'm focused on my people, the Black community, the children of the sun, the melanated beings, the sun-kissed gods and goddesses of my community is who I'm concerned about first, because we got to sweep around our own front door before we can go out and expect anybody else to respect us and command anything from anybody along the lines of respect, honest, honesty, and integrity. We need to build that up first in our own backyard. All right. So here we go. Now, let me do this again. Let me share my little screen here. we go. And boom. Okay. Now, in the beginning, uh, Lexi stated that right out the gate, she don't deal with Chris Fletcher anymore. So let's go.
I don't want you to think I want you to do that. Like, I just want you to tell your truth and the way you see fit and tell your side of the story. And however the chips fall, is how they fall. But I do not want you to think like this is me trying to pry for a like and a click. No, I want you to be.
And shout out to giving you the real tea for this interview. Um, you did an amazing job, very professional, very empathetic and compassionate, very balanced, I must say. And you handled her very well, very respectfully. And that right there, boom, I love it. This is how we should always talk and try to treat each other when we dealing with these very volatile, very sensitive, very fragile situations in our community.
Able to say your piece.
I appreciate that. So, and I honestly don't care if anybody bashes them. So, sorry, they're no longer family of mine. I haven't spoken to them since that dinner. So,
no, Lexi, say it ain't so, friend. Not since the dinner, you ain't talked to your daddy since that was one of my biggest questions.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him since the dinner, which was in June, and they haven't seen my kids since November 2022.
Wow. Whoa. November 2022?
Yeah.
And this is January 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So, okay. Well, before we get there, okay, before we get there, I do want to give you the opportunity to let people know a little bit about you and your background and things like that. So, do you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I actually live in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I don't live in Huntsville, though I do have a lot of family, not the
Mm-hmm.
Fletchers, in Huntsville, Madison, Harvest area. And yeah, I'm 32, got 2 kids.
Why is filing your taxes with Free Tax
Sorry,
USA
y'all.
different?
There's a commercial. My
Well, for
bad.
starters, our premium.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty boring. And let's see, I've got other siblings here in Nashville. So I have a sister, I've got 2 brothers. My father, who I identify as my father, is my stepfather. His name's Alonzo.
Mm-hmm.
My mother here. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much about me. I'm a crazy dog person, crazy animal person. I've got a snake. I've got a bearded dragon. I've got a dog. I've got cats. Like I'm completely different from the Fletchers.
Mm-hmm.
I should be because I did not grow up with them. So
I get that.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. All right. And again, I want you to be as completely, brutally honest as possible.
Oh, don't worry.
What was your experience of Chris as a dad growing up?
So, interesting question. I probably should have thought about this before I got on here. I never really spent a lot of time with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know him. I've never been alone with him. His wife wouldn't allow me to be alone with him, so I've never had one-on-one time with him to kind of get to know him and he get to know me.
Mm-hmm.
He's been kind of like in and out of my life. I've visited, a few times in summers, and I don't know if I've ever spent a holiday with them. Oh yeah, I did. I spent Christmas with them one time.
Mm-hmm.
I've never celebrated any birthdays with them. They've never attended any of my birthdays.
Wow.
Let's see, what else about him? I probably know as much as, the viewers, unfortunately. But Chris is extremely attractive, charming. He's so funny, loves to dance, loves himself, loves Sprite. I mean, this is sad, but like I'm sorry, guys. Like this is,
No, it's okay. Say
but
your piece.
I mean, I don't know the man that much. I have celebrated like a couple birthdays with him as
Mm,
an adult, because I kind of like forced an invite on them.
mm.
But yeah, I don't. I have Chris's face, and that's pretty much it. That's as close as we've been because I've never spent time with him like that.
Wow. Okay. So has it always been like that with him, or did it get like them when he was with Nell?
So what people don't know, because I don't watch the show, guys. I'm sorry. I do love reality TV, but it gives me the ick. It's like real cringe to like watch them, so I don't watch the show.
Mm.
But my mom and Chris were married for almost 3 years. But I mean, of course, I was three. I don't really remember. So
Mm.
all I know of him is him with Lornell. My earliest
Oh,
memories, I only know him with Lornell.
okay.
And so the treatment has always been the same because Lornell's always been there. Because
Mm.
she actually broke up my parents' marriage. She was the other woman in my parents' marriage, and she actually got pregnant while my parents were married. And once I guess Chris realized that my mother was not going to take him back, and because she had a hard time trying to get him to sign the divorce papers. You can ask his mother about that. Hey, Maddie. But she had a really hard time trying to get him to sign the papers. So after he realized she was not going to take him back,
Mm.
they got divorced, and then he married he married Lornell.
So you said that it's not a situation where, or is it, where he got with the next woman and he was just like, I don't want to deal with you and your mom. Y'all just do what y'all do. I'm over here. Or or was he always just absent?
He's always been absent. He's always been someone who's wanted to have his cake. What is it? Have your cake and eat it
He
too.
needed to. Mhm.
He's always been that type of person. So I mean, he chased after my mom. That's probably one of the reasons why Lornell doesn't like you, because he pursued my mom. Lornell pursued him. So
Wow.
it. Yeah, that's what that is.
Okay, honey. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Now, let me ask you this. Let's get down to the dinner. Now, me and you kind of sort of talked about that, but I didn't get too deeply into it with you with it because I wanted to save it for here.
Right.
So, from a viewer standpoint, you know how we look at reality TV is, well, they know that they have a call time to come do something, and then everybody just shows up to come and do it. They don't necessarily know who they're going to be filming with or whatever, with it, which in this case you did, your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And but other than that, you don't really know what you're going to get. You don't really know what's going to come up. You don't really know what's going to be discussed. So when, first of all, what was your reaction when you found out Chris was even featured on Love and Marriage Huntsville? Like, was you excited for him or was you worried considering how y'all relationship was. Like, was you worried that was going to be brought up on TV, which it did?
I've never been a priority for Chris. I've never been, the first thought for Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So no. When I heard he was on the show, or that he was, because they have been trying to be on reality TV for as long as I know. I mean, they always wanted to. We've always had conversations. People have always told when I've been around the family, oh my gosh, your family's so funny. You guys should have your own show. Blah 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 blah. So I mean, and they're like, yeah, we really should have our own show. We're great. Blah blah. So I mean, they were excited. They've been. I mean, this is like, their time to shine. They're very happy, and kudos. I'm happy that you guys finally got on partly halfway on a reality TV show, but I wasn't really excited, honestly, because I don't. Okay, I watch reality TV, and for the life of me, I don't understand how some people go on a reality TV show, subject themselves to all the outside chitter chatter, comments, everything, and then things kind of like come up, like Jen Shaw, like she's in prison. Teresa, like their tax stuff comes up, like all your skeletons come out. Mm-hmm. So when I saw that he was on the show, I was kind of scared, honestly, because I thought there was going to be a ton of women to come out of the woodwork and be like, I slept with him last month. I know it. Like, I was scared for them. Mm-hmm. And then also scared for, their business. Cause like in their house, I don't know how they got all that stuff. So like, I was just nervous because I have not been privy to, how they got to where they are financially, because it's real new. They've only been in the place they've been in for about maybe a decade and a half, maybe. Yeah, because they didn't get that house until their daughter Kayla was either a senior or junior in high school, which I always thought was funny, because I'm like, why would you get this huge house and all your kids are gone? But they have always had this, keeping up with the Joneses type thing. They're real, like, label hungry and like follower. I don't know. They, materialistic and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know.
So when you got there, did you know that they was gonna have any type of like conversations, like personal conversations, or when you got there, was you expecting it to just be a normal yang yang yang? We gonna sit down, eat,
Yeah,
maybe somebody will argue here and there, and then it's done. Did you expect it to go where it did?
I really didn't, because I've been in a good place, or I was in a good place with the Fletchers for the past 3 years.
Mhm.
No fighting, nothing like that. So, and my husband and I came to the dinner under the pretense that we would be.
Let me go back.
I was like, I was kind of scared, honestly, because I thought there was going to be.
Now I wanted to go back over because I think I was talking to the mute button. Uh, I'm looking at the comments in chat. I'm looking at the chat, and people are picking her apart. You know, how does she know if she doesn't have a strong relationship with them, and so on, about the things she speaks on? She just explained that. She just said she had sporadic visits and interactions with them throughout her lifetime. It was not consistent. And sometimes people will bring a bone and carry a bone, drop off a bone and little bits and pieces of breadcrumbs left here and there. And over time, with certain situations, you start to wonder and speculate, and it's left open for to you to draw your own conclusion. Nobody ever really wants to give the full scope and tell the whole story. We always want to tell the part of the story and the version of the story that makes us look the best, makes us look like the victim or innocent or unsuspecting or what have you. That's how my mother is. She's a master triangulation manipulator. She'll say one thing to me, she'll say another thing to my sister. And when we come together, or when we would come together to confront the issue, my mother would play clueless. She memory gone. I don't know what, I don't remember saying that. What had happened? I'm blind. I can't see. Deflection. And so we never would get to the bottom of it. And then we would be left hanging, flapping in the wind, trying to figure out, okay, why am I getting side eye from this sister of mine who I haven't seen in over a year? And when we finally do come together for Christmas dinner or for Easter, the Easter egg hunt with the kids, I'm getting the side eye. And I haven't spoken to this woman in a couple of years. And then when I ask her, well, what the problem is, we're wrong. Well, mom says, boom, boom, boom. Well, mom don't know what she's talking about because mom doesn't live my life every day. All she knows is what she was told by a child through hearsay or by her own speculation and assumptions. So now you up in your feelings based on something that never happened. And had you just picked up the phone and called me directly to clear it up, we wouldn't have this contention between us. You listening to your mama and letting her pull your strings and puppeteer you like a fucking marionette, and now you up in your feelings about something that's totally false, has no factual validation to it at all. You just going off of speculation, gossip, and hearsay. Okay, so that's how she knew, because people talk in the family. People text and call. Child, did you hear they said they wanted to be on relax? Oh yeah, I heard that. People do that all the time. Just like at work. You could be the new person at work. Nobody knows shit about you. And as soon as you get a promotion, you got that henpeck group in the corner hating and mad. Oh, she thinks she better than everybody. She got that little funky promotion. You can upgrade your wardrobe to fit the role and say, instead of wearing, dress casual, I'm gonna go formal business casual, get a couple little pantsuits and a little bit nicer attire so I fit the role and look the part. Okay, walk the walk and talk the talk. This heifer thinks she's so good. Oh, look at her now. She making all this money and she thinks she can dress now, huh? Been through it, been there, done that. Let's go.
A ton of women to come out of the woodwork and be like, I slept with him last month. I know it. Like, I was scared for them. Mm-hmm. And then also scared for, their business. Cause like in their house, I don't know how they got all that stuff. So like, I was just nervous because I have not been privy to, how they got to where they are financially, because it's real new. They've only been in the place they've been in for about maybe a decade and a half, maybe. Yeah, because they didn't get that house until their daughter Kayla was either a senior or junior in high school,
Mm.
which I always thought was funny because I'm like, why would you get this huge house and all your kids are gone? But they have always had this, keeping up with the Joneses type thing. They're real, like, label hungry and like follower. I don't know. They, materialistic and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know.
So when you got there, did you know that they was gonna have any type of like conversations, like personal conversations, or when you got there, was you expecting it to just be a normal yang yang yang? We gonna sit down, eat,
Yeah,
maybe somebody will argue here and there, and then it's done. Did you expect it to go where it did?
I really didn't because I've been in a good place, or I was in a good place with the Fletchers for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
No fighting, nothing like that. So, and my husband and I came to the dinner under the pretense that we would be able to promote our business.
Okay.
So we were like, oh yeah, because Chris was like, come down, be on the show. You guys can promote your business. You have no idea, what that type of exposure with the show will happen, la la la. So we were like, heck yeah, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought it was going to be like a nice, classy, which I don't know why I would think it's classy. It's the Fletchers. But I thought it would be like a nice, classy dinner. I was really looking forward to Lornell's cooking because that lady can cook.
Okay.
Okay, that lady can cook. So I was really looking forward to the food, though it was cold when I got there. I still ate a little bit though. But yeah, that's what I thought I was going into. And then, they started talking about little Chris. I don't know my siblings like that. I really don't have a relationship with little Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I just got his phone number a year ago because he refused to give me his phone number. He actually does not come around that family. He has told me multiple times, everyone in the family is fake. They're full of drama and I don't got time for that shit. So he's like, I don't want to be around those people. But he came, but they're all also under Lornell's thumb because she pays for so much,
Mm-hmm.
She supports them financially in so many different ways that, you kiss the ring if you want to keep getting, the money.
Right.
So I really didn't think they were going to talk about me because I'm nobody to them. Like I'm the redheaded stepchild. I'm the black sheep or the white sheep of the family. So like, I didn't think they'd come at me. And the dinner was going great. We were just talking. They talked about Kiki not keeping a job. And then they talked about little Chris. I didn't know he was in jail.
Mm-hmm.
About his dog. I don't know what Lan said. And then I don't know what was said or what happened, but they started talking about my mother.
Mm-hmm.
The Fletchers have never talked about my mother. When I say never growing up, they never badmouthed my mom. They never talked about my mom. They never brought her up. The only way, like, they would say, like, if I, wanted something, if I, like, wanted an iPad or if I wanted a laptop or something, be like, oh, yeah, that's something you need to ask your mom. We sent child support, so, ask your mom. Or if I'm like, why didn't I get to go on the vacation with you guys? They're like, oh, something you need to ask your mom about. That's been, like, the extent of my mom's involvement. And that's always been something that I respected about them because I love my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were sitting at the dinner table, Kiki said something like, my mom does too much and she wanted to be in the delivery room with her when she had her baby. I barely know Kiki's son's name, okay? My mom doesn't know Kiki. She's never had a relationship with Kiki, never hung out, nothing like that. The only time Kiki has ever experienced my mom is when she got kicked out by the Fletchers and she was pregnant and she didn't have any baby stuff. She didn't have any money. She was struggling. And my mom and I came down to Huntsville and we gave her a breast pump. We gave her like a baby swing, a bunch of baby clothes, like just a lot of stuff. That was her only experience with my mother. So when she started talking about my mom doing too much, wanting to be, and then Lornell started chiming in, and then that's when I lost it. So in the clip that they showed, it was like, I'm talking about how, I was treated differently. And then it looks like someone said something and I just went off and I got up and I cussed them out and I left. No, they were talking about my mom for like a hard, like 15 minutes. And I could not take that. I'm not used to that. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't expect that. And that's always been like a no-go zone. So
Mm-hmm.
when they brought my mom up, I was like, okay, so this is like I deeped it. I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on now. I see what they're trying to do. Okay, so I took that opportunity to be like, I'm gonna cuss Linnell out the best I can, and I'm gonna get up and go because I've been wanting to cuss her out since I was a child. So I finally got the opportunity because I was like, I'm never gonna see them again. Like this is like I'm done. Like you guys think this is like a she because they said I do this at all the dinners. What dinners? I don't have dinners with you guys. Like what? I've never been invited to dinner with you guys. I've only gone to like.
And this is where I want to pause too with this too, with the talking disparagingly about the mother. Um, my child has been through that in that situation with my mother and my sister because I chose to go no contact with them too. My child still went for visits and spent quality time with her aunt and then also with her grandparents. And because I did not engage in the triangulation any longer, because I didn't call and confront them, why are you saying these things? Why are you doing this? I told you that this is my boundary with my child. Don't give her access to what she is restricted from. Don't undermine my parental authority. Yes, she can visit, but I'm going to cut off the visits with her as well if this continues. So then, of course, I became the villain. This is what narcissists do. Nothing is off limits. Nothing is sacred, including the children. They talk bad. I mean, I have receipts. I have text messages, recorded phone calls. My child has written things to me in her journal telling me what happened while she was visiting with her aunt for the summer, how she would badmouth me, how they would get into a spat, and my daughter would call me for a plane ticket to be sent home. I was silent. Normal check-ins. How you doing, honey? Are you being a good little girl? What are y'all having fun? Mom, I want to come home. Auntie such and such. She said this, she said that, she did this, she did that. And I don't appreciate her talking about you. When you badmouth a parent to their child, you have crossed the line. So in anybody that I know, whether you have a good relationship with your parent or not, when you go for the mama, that's the red zone. Okay, that's the no-fly zone. Even though my mother and I do not have a relationship to this day, and I'm 52 and she's 75 years old. I'm sorry, 85 years old. I still don't play about my mom. I don't like her. We don't get along. We don't talk. But the bond that we did have up until I was 32, it's still a bond. I still have some faint, fond memories of my relationship with my mother, but she's still my mother. Okay. There's enough respect there that I will still protect her and I will not just allow her to fall by the wayside and let somebody just disrespect her in my face. Okay.
Thanksgiving a few times and Christmas a couple times. Other than that, we don't have family dinners. So when they're like, "Oh, she does this at every family dinner. This is what she does." Bitch, I've never been invited. Like, I don't come to y'all's family dinners. So I was like, okay, they all collectively must have had a conversation and decided that they were going to do this to me. And I was just like, all right, when people show you who they are, believe them. I, Angela, love you. RIP. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this family. They'll never see me again. They'll never see my kids again. They won't ever be involved in my life whatsoever. So yeah, I'm gonna say kiss my ass and I'm leaving because that's it. I've been wanting to say that to her forever because she swears up and down. I cussed her out one time. If you knew my parents, that is not something I do. Lernell and Chris have never been my parents. They have been like, a distant uncle and aunt, basically. So I don't really care. I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, those kids, and that's so disrespectful. Please understand that I'm not their child. When they lied and said they have 4 beautiful children, I was shocked. Why would you ever include me? Like, I've never been included. I've always been on the outside. So I did not understand. I still don't understand everything. But yeah, they won't ever see me again. On the ride home back to Nashville, I cried the whole way. And my husband was upset. And he was like, you know what? Honestly, if you ever have my kids around those people, I will serve you divorce papers. So it's that serious. Like we're done. So I don't really, I'm not going to apologize people for cussing them out. I don't care.
And and you know what? And I'm glad that you brought that up because I do want to talk to you about the comments.
Yeah.
I do know for me, and I want to ask you this because this has been a thing that's been floating around. I wish her mom was here, but I did
Yeah,
talk
she's
to her
over
mama,
there.
y'all. She did. Oh, she is here.
Yeah, she
Does she
is.
mind coming and answer some of these people questions so they can get the hell off my back?
Cornelia, would you like to come and join the fun? She's coming.
Child, because they want to hear from your mama so bad, girl. These people in the comments said, where her mama at? We don't want to hear from her. We want to hear from her mama. I said, Lord Jesus.
I am a reflection of my mother, which is another reason why Linnell hates me so much. But yeah, if you guys want to talk to the OG right here she is. Say hi, Mom.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well.
That is good. Listen, I'm not going to keep you long. I'm not going to pry and I'm not going to get too messy. I'm not. Okay. But there are a lot of questions that I was having in my comments. I think I told you this when we talked. One of the biggest things that I had under my comments personally was that a lot of people felt like the way Lexi feels about her dad and Nell stems from you. So I want to know, and this is from your mouth and everybody can hear it, is there any truth to that at all?
Unfortunately not. I really have been, I've tried. I was divorced. I'm gonna correct a couple things. I was married to Chris for 2 years total. I met Chris in high school. So I was, with Chris for a long time and did a lot of things. I was a crazy in love young lady, and got married, had a child, and it just didn't work out. It was, you find out when you're 22, infidelity. You try, you go to counseling, and then you find out that that's a habitual kind of behavior. So. I was a single mom for a long time before I found my wonderful husband, Lexi's dad, stepped into her life when she was 5. But I encouraged Chris the entire time, because I didn't grow up with a father. My father was older, and so he was in and out, and my parents divorced as well. So I understand that gap of your life. So for me, I talk to Chris often, money is one thing, but time is never take back any of that. So I've encouraged over the years, before I got married, I used to drive halfway distance to get her to him. So I did a lot of bridging because I really wanted that relationship to be there. And you shouldn't have to do that because that's your child, right? Even as she has become an adult, a lot of the things she knows now, it was challenging as a child because a lot of things she experienced, I had to be silent on. And then as she became her own, she became a single mother. So a lot of things I share with her as far as my life was to encourage her that you can do these things, right? You can move forward. I did it, right?
Right.
But one of the things that I encouraged constantly was, try. Just try, meet him halfway, forgive, continue to forgive. And as she became an adult, I kind of said, these are your terms. You have to be able to create healthy boundaries for yourself.
I agree.
And this is the thing right here when she said, try to meet halfway with your children's father. And if it doesn't work out, you have to keep healthy boundaries. Now, as a co parent myself, I can relate to that. I can relate to that wholeheartedly because most times, you know, girls mentally and emotionally mature a little bit sooner than boys because we are in the kitchen learning how to wash dishes, make the Kool-Aid and put the dishes away and do laundry at a very young age, like 12, some earlier, just depend. I know the average age is, you start doing your chores around, between 7 and 12. You have, basic chores, clean your room, sweep, dust, do the dishes, take the garbage out, right? While we're working around learning how to be domesticated, little boys are growing up still playing their little GI Joes, building blocks, video games, sports and all of that. And their emotional and mental maturity is slightly underdeveloped compared to the young lady. So when they make a child, that's why it's so easy to emotionally disconnect and say that baby ain't mine, even though they know that there's a possibility that that girl could be pregnant by them, whether she's promiscuous or not. And even those among us who are not promiscuous as young ladies, teens, whatever, or whenever we become single parents, become pregnant without being married to the person, just because that young man denies the paternity immediately out the gate, that should right there should be a red flag. Why is this the default deflection to taking accountability, right? So young boys are enabled, very young, at a young age, to be irresponsible, okay, to be careless and selfish in a lot of ways. Okay. So with this, what Lexi's mom said, I don't understand how Lexi is telling her mama's side of the story. Like she fed her daughter all this information, and her daughter doesn't have a mind of her own, any critical thought process in her psyche to put the pieces of the puzzle together for herself and draw her own damn conclusion. Okay. Because if she took her to counseling and encouraged the cohesiveness of the co-parenting relationship with Lexi and Chris, how is she bitter now? She's done. That's not bitter. That's I'm it's fight or flight. I'm not fighting with y'all. Okay. So I'm getting fuck out of here because I'm not gonna sit here and accept pieces of my father or pieces of relationships with these people who are my siblings and half siblings. Okay. How's that bitter? That's self preservation. That's the most intelligent thing anybody could do and say, you know what? This is not gelling well for me. It's affecting my mental and emotional and physical well-being, and it's trickling down on my children. Clearly her husband don't want his children exposed to that type of dysfunction, and I don't blame him. Okay. And I encourage my daughter to do the same thing with her children and the other side of her parenting role. If their family has too much toxicity and dysfunction, the best thing to do is wean away from contact because you don't want to damage another generation of children who are clueless to what the hell is wrong with the adults that are caring for them. It's supposed to be their support system. Let's go.
You definitely need to um, not give up on that relationship. I was the person that said she needed to have them at her wedding. But they were not invited until I stepped in, and I didn't want her to have that kind of regret, right?
Right.
I paid for them to have photos with her, like at the wedding. That was not planned, because of course her dad just been with her since she was 5. He walked her down the aisle. Like all of that has been a preconceived notion in her life based on the behaviors that she experienced as a daughter. So no, I've always encouraged, like, figure it out. Like, it's important to have a balance because you always want to have that relationship with your dad, your parents, no matter what they. I mean, I have a similar situation, so I know how that goes, right? So, no, I was the person that encouraged until this, right? I never ever experienced or considered that
They hate me.
that this would have happened to my daughter. And for you people, in the comments, it was really tough to see my child treated that way. She's an adult, right? But they never stop being your child.
Mhm.
But to see the comments and to see like what they sent home was brokenness. So at least one thing I can tell you that I've encouraged therapy for years.
And I've been in therapy since 14. All the people telling me I need to get therapy. I guess someone's going to say, oh, it's not working, you can get your money back. It's a process, okay?
It is.
I'm
It
working
is.
on me.
And so that's something I was like, well, for this, we have to create healthy boundaries for ourselves.
Mhm.
We have to be able to, push forward because she still has children that had a relationship, like at least my grandson, with his grandfather, and he's wondering what's going to go on, right? And he's isolated from that relationship now because it's not healthy. So no, I tried. But you can't do it by yourself. Somebody has to be able to step in and want you. And as my mom told me when I was getting divorced, she said, I didn't raise you to be mistreated. And I didn't raise my daughter to be mistreated.
That's right. So let me ask you this, and if it's too personal, you don't have to ask.
Okay.
Is Nell the reason why your marriage to Chris didn't work out, or was it other women? So that we just don't put it all off on her. Was it other women, or was it specifically her?
I mean, she won because she got pregnant. But go ahead.
Anyway, unfortunately there were a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of the many. It was, and she. The challenging part about her is that when I was married to him, she was one of the people that called my house, and I talked to her on the phone, and I explained that I was, he was married, and I said, hey, he's married, like I'm the wife, and she begged my pardon. She said she was so sorry, and she said she would, she was gonna excommunicate. She, really gave him the business on the phone. So for me, I just kind of assumed that was it. But when I had some family things that went on, and I had to leave because he was in the military at the time. We lived in North Carolina, and had to leave for a family situation. And he pursued me. He came. I was like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm not sure what's going on, but I have to go to my family. I think we're gonna have to divorce. This is not working for me. And when I came back, he actually came. I'm from Mississippi. He drove to Mississippi. I have no idea how he found me in Mississippi, but he drove, found me, came to my aunt's funeral, was there, supportive, which was, very convincing for me to come back home. And that was his thing. He wanted me to come back home. He wanted his marriage. He wanted his family. And unfortunately, when I got there, I found a plethora of evidence that he was not true. He was not telling the truth. I mean, and one of the things that I did find was letters from Miss Fletcher.
Wow.
So that the pursuant part of of him, she was quite pursuant of him. It appeared, and I actually had I always tell women, one of the things you never do is meet or care about the other person that was invited into your marriage, because you didn't invite that person. You have a covenant with the person, the man. And so I had actually had lunch with her, and she explained to me again that she was not interested. She felt like she was fooled. She was part of this, situation that was, she felt she was the victim. So we kind of had this trauma bond, right? Like, whatever. And then unfortunately, time went on, and she was still there. So, I mean, and quite frankly, Terrence, I mean,
I wonder if anybody picked up on this, the parallel between Fletcher and Lil Buddy Hotel, and how they both had long-term side chicks that said, oh, I'm done with them. I want you back. I want my wife back, and so on. Now I understand more why Chris is so quiet when Martell starts raging and amping up on Melody and on anybody who mentions his infidelity and holds him accountable for why Mel does not want to talk to and deal with or have anything else to do with her ex-husband. And no pleasantries, no niceties, no nothing. You don't get an inch more from me because you are a liar. You are a cheater. You are a chronic, habitual cheater, a pathological manipulator. And that is the way that Melody should be. That's it. No dice, no more hot water, no more grace, no more patience, no more, okay, let's wait to see what you're going to do. Because it's the same thing every time I give you a little half an inch, you take 10 miles with it. So bitter is off the table. This is self preservation and setting appropriate boundaries, giving appropriate consequences for the behavior, for the disrespect, for the level of disrespect. Some things you just cannot recover from. Some things the trust is gone out the window, down the toilet, and that's that. We just need to go our separate ways, keep it funky, and do the best we can do to be good parents to our children that we have in common. That's it. Nothing else. That's all. We're going to be cordial in front of our children, in the presence of our children. And what we do in our separate life, that's just it. Separate. None of my business. It's none of your business what I do. Let's move past this ad and keep going.
I had truly moved on. It was a lot that I endured through that. But at the end of the day, if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. And you have to forgive and move forward. And what Lexi told you earlier about me having a relationship with her stepbrother, Lance, like I was the person, like my friends thought I was a fool at the time. I was the person that, her and Chris got together. She said Lance was her brother. She was so excited. She had a big brother. I was the person that would go over to their house and pick Lance up when we would go on our little field trips. And, I would do it. I would go to the movies. I would do things because this is from my child's perspective. So they've been, so for me, you have to see it through that. If I wanted to be married to that person, then I would have, stayed and fought for it, right? But if it's not for me to fight for, then you allow that person to move on, right? But I have prayed with Lornell for her marriage to Chris. So I have done a lot
after he cheated.
You have.
That I just really, they've been to my houses. They've been we've been, it's lots of things that I just have done that this was, I just didn't expect this, right? I mean, because for me, it's you grow and you move on. And I found out they were on the television show, yay, because everybody blew up my text message saying, hey, guess who's on the show? And I'm like, yay for them, right? I don't have any ill will, wish them well. But, I just, for me, the treatment of Alexis, I didn't foresee. So there.
When did you see the scene in particular that she was in?
I did.
What was your thoughts as a parent? What was your thoughts watching it? Like once it all played out and it was over and done with, what did you think?
Well, I can back up to when she came home, right? Because I had to keep my grandchildren when she went, right? And she found out that she had to go on this show. And I just feel like, oh, well, be careful, be cautious. And when she came back, she was just she was a little broken Lexi that this was somebody I recognized early, right? So it was painful because my daughter was saying, I didn't realize they hated me so much. And then she just kept saying it. I didn't realize they hated me so much. And I had to, pick up the broken pieces that they sent me back and, tell her that she is more than enough, and she is not defined by, you know, comments on a show,
Right.
or an experience that she didn't foresee. And just because you want something, sometimes people aren't able to give you the best of who they are, and when they give you the worst, you walk away. And so that's kind of where I am. But then scene to scene, yeah, yeah, it was. I had people calling me saying, "You want to roll out?" And I don't do that. And I was like, "No, no,
I
no,
know that's right.
not that, no, no, no. It's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's weirdly enough, Terrence, Lexi has been chasing this relationship forever. She has made a lot of concessions, and we have all kind of, as me, her dad, her siblings, have all kind of looked at her and said, when is enough gonna be enough? When are you gonna say when?
Right.
This is just not something that's conducive to you having something healthy, right? I have a saying, you don't position yourself for crumbs, because you deserve the whole damn bakery. And for her, she always was getting crumbs, right? So I just said, God, thank you to some degree, because this is a different version of her, because she's always been what they said was true. I told her, don't block people,
and I didn't,
because they ain't gonna call you no way,
and they haven't,
because they hadn't called. They're not consistent in her life, and so for her, I just wanted her to be able to close that chapter and start anew, because you parents out there that have this any similar co-parenting situation, I can tell you that one of the biggest challenges is the grass is greener. And Lexi was always looking for the other grass is greener, and what you see that you don't see the grass you have right here. So for us, it's
Okay, I'm gonna pause in here too. And the rest of it is just kind of, where they, cap it off with, how currently she's done. Lexi is done. And that was the last round of crumbs that she's going to accept from this group of people who allege that they love her, they wanted her present, for all of these reasons, and they had an ulterior motive, whatever it might be. In her mind and body and spirit, it was to set her up and try to humiliate her and dog her out on national television because she stood up for herself. She said, I'm not treated with the same type of love and respect and regard as the other children. They're being enabled. You got one that owes you money, and you still helping him, and they haven't paid you back, haven't done what their bargain, kept their end of the bargain with you as parents, and you overlook that, and the least little thing I do or say that's against the grain, that doesn't go along with your agenda or your falsetto appearance or whatever pretenses that you want to keep up for this show. I'm the bad guy. I'm the villain. So I don't blame Lexi or her mom for saying let's put a close, put a period on this, and move around to healthier relationships. Be thankful for what you do have, the love and support system that you do have in place that's consistent, that honors you and cherishes you and respects you as a person for who you are, your flaws and all, because nobody's perfect. Everybody's flawed. We all have our mistakes, and nobody's going to get along and be the Brady Bunch or the Huxtables all the damn time. However, there is some semblance of balance that should be in any relationship and family dynamic, where there is a balance of respect, regard, and how you treat one with kid gloves, then I shouldn't be raked through the coals if I commit the same offense as this one, or if I have speak my mind and you don't agree with my opinion or my position on things. I shouldn't be read the riot act when someone else can blatantly disrespect you to your face and tell you read your title clear, and then you turn your head and act like nothing happened, act like it did, they like it never happened. I like, again, I parallel some of my own personal experiences with my own family to this exact situation here in this interview. So again, shout out to giving you the real tea. Thank you for this amazing interview. And I just want to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there for right now and close out with always, 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 always choose yourself first. No matter what is going on, no matter what dynamic of a relationship you're in, when it becomes toxic and you don't feel like you're being heard, you don't feel like you are being respected, you don't feel like you're being valued in that relationship, and how hard it is, it's almost like grieving a death. It's like grieving someone transitioning away from here and leaving this earthly body. It's very difficult, it's very painful. Therapy is essential, and being firm, being consistent, being positive, and being sure of yourself and not accepting mistreatment is not bitter. Okay. Black people, that's some slave mentality thinking. That's prehistoric thinking that a woman or a man or anybody is bitter because she no longer wants to accept pieces of a relationship and decides to move forward because she knows her worth and knows her value and wants and deserves and is commanding of respect and being honored for who she is, not a word salad of uh, what people think should be a relationship that or how a relationship should look. So this was amazing to me. It teaches a lot. And then I also wanted to add, what a blessing this is, how Mel allowed us to see such a painful experience in her life unfold on national television to give people the courage to step forward and tell their story and come out of hiding and not stay silent on abuse. Because no matter who does it, no matter what type of dynamic it's in, abuse is abuse. Infidelity is abuse. Lying is abuse. All of that is under abuse. Okay. So no matter how you want to slice it, I don't care how good looking the man is. I don't care how pretty the woman is. I don't care how voluptuous her backside is. Any of these things that have been discussed here, from Love and Marriage Huntsville, from the start to the end of Martell and his cheating hoe ass ways, that is abuse. And I don't care how much a person beg, how much they say they have changed. If their actions don't match their words and they cannot make their apology just as loud as the offense, then it's time to cut the cord and move on. With that, I'm going to leave it here. One love. Queen Common Sense out for now. I'll see you next time.